The fascinating thing about communication is much of it happens without us even realizing it. It's not just the words we say, it's also in how we say them, in the pauses, the movements, and even the smallest gestures that happen naturally. And when you begin to truly notice these things, you'll discover an entire world of information just waiting to be understood. It's like learning to read a secret code that's been there all along, right in front of you. Imagine you're speaking with a customer. They're telling you about a bad experience they had with another truck. They might be looking at their left, maybe even to their left hand as they describe the situation. Now, what does that mean? You might not be consciously aware of it, but you, on the other hand, can use this. When they're speaking about something negative, they're accessing a memory, and the memory is linked to their left side. You see, the left side of the body is tied to emotions, to memory recall. So let's try something fun. Picture yourself right there with your customer. You know how they move, how their body responds to certain things. What if you step slightly to their right, subtly guiding the direction of the conversation? You're aligning with the positive, with what makes them feel good. You're walking with them towards their potential decision, with their need and desires in mind. The right side is the side of possibility, and you effortlessly leaning in that direction. You guide them closer to what they want. Not just because you're present, but because you're deeply attuned to every little movement, every little gesture. What about the subtle push-pull? When a competitor comes into the conversation, when you talk about the other options they have, you can lean in towards the negative side. Why? Because you know the negative side triggers the push. It creates a mental contrast, and you can watch for the slight change in their expression. You've tapped into their deeper needs and desires. It's the same with behaviour changes. Have you ever noticed how, when someone is about to make a change, their body language shifts? It's like there's an inner conflict brewing, a need for something new, but a hesitation to make that leap. You might gently lean towards the negative side, to help them to process the shift, guiding them towards understanding the consequences of not changing. It's not about manipulation, it's about aligning with their deeper thoughts and helping them to find clarity. Now consider the eyes. The way people look tells you so much. We all have this thing called an eye home, a particular spot where our eyes naturally go, accessing certain types of information. For instance, when someone talks about something they've seen, their eyes, they might go up and to the right. When they're recalling an emotional experience, down and to the left. Isn't it amazing that our bodies give us these little clues? The more you notice these movements, the more you realize you can predict and understand what's happening on a deeper level. If their eyes dart suddenly to the side, there's a shift, a break from their usual pattern. This is often a signal of doubt, or even a sign that something isn't quite adding up. You see, this deviation can be subtle, but if you're paying attention, it's like hearing a whisper in the middle of a crowded room. It lets you know something is not quite right. And as you build this awareness, you start to gather all these little data points. Each glance, each movement, each shift. It's like building your own map of how the other person is processing the world around them. Over time, you'll recognize deviations, changes, and even when someone is not being entirely truthful with you. But it doesn't stop there. Let's talk about those rapid little changes, the blinking, the speed of it. Think about how we react to fear, how our bodies respond when we sense danger. It's like the little chihuahua that starts moving faster when it feels threatened, its eyes darting around, seeking out what's wrong. When someone is nervous or anxious, their blinking speeds up. Just like the little dog, you can spot it. You can watch for those shifts in the blink rate, and just like that, you know what's going on inside them. When their eyes dilate, they're responding to something emotional. It's like a signal from deep inside. I like this, or I'm interested, or I feel attracted. It's a physiological response, automatic and unconscious. And because you know what it means, you can use that information to understand how they feel about what's right in front of them. Let's take it a step further. You're speaking to two people. One looks over at the other. What does that mean? It's the confirmation glance. That moment where they're checking in with the person who holds the power, the decision maker. When you see it, you know who you're really talking to. You're not just persuading one person, you're engaging with one who has the final say. And knowing this, you can adjust your approach. You know where to focus your energy. Those little eyebrow flashes, they're so telling. When someone raises their eyebrows, it's a signal of openness, of friendliness, of being non-threatening. When they pull them down, watch out, because that's a sign of tension and anger. What if you could meet that? What if you could match the energy and shift in your favour, just by adjusting your own expressions? Isn't it curious how much our bodies can tell us about what's happening inside someone's mind? Every gesture, every movement, every little flicker of the eyes, it's a clue. When you start to notice these things, you're able to connect with the other person on a deeper level, influencing them in ways that you might not even realise yet. It all starts with awareness, being present, recognising the subtle changes, the shifts, the tells. You become someone who understands the hidden language of behaviour. You learn to read between the lines, to hear the unspoken words, to guide the conversation in ways that align with both your goals and theirs. The more you practice this, the easier it gets. Each interaction becomes a learning experience, a chance to refine your understanding and to influence with grace. So the next time you step into a conversation, remember, it's not just the words you say, it's everything else, the eyes, the movements, the gestures. All those small things that, when you notice them, reveal so much more than you might have ever imagined.